A single, weathered necklace was about to expose a 2-3-year-old lie and shatter the lives of New York's elite. Crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across marble floors as designer gowns swept past polished shoes. This was the Hartford Museum Spring Gala, where New York's elite gathered to celebrate wealth disguised as charity. 2-3-year-old Amara Bennett moved through the crowd, black uniform, white apron, invisible, the way servers always are. She balanced a tray with the practiced grace of someone who's worked 3 jobs since high school. Against her dark skin, a silver necklace caught the light. A crescent moon intertwined with a compass rose. Weathered, old, beautiful. A woman's voice cut through the murmur. Isn't it inappropriate for the help to wear jewelry, especially something so ostentatious? Heads turned. Whispers rippled. Amara's hand instinctively touched the necklace, the only possession from a past she couldn't remember. Then, everything stopped. 8 one-year-old Eleanor Whitmore stood frozen. Her champagne glass slipped, shattering on the floor. Her face drained of color. She stared at the necklace, her lips forming silent words. Victoria, have you ever wondered what a single object could unlock? What secrets hide in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to shatter everything you thought you knew? 3 days earlier. Amara's apartment in the Bronx, 482 square feet, peeling paint, a window that wouldn't close all the way, but it was hers. Nursing textbooks covered every surface. Anatomy, pharmacology, patient care. Finals were in 2 weeks. Between double shifts at prestige catering events and studying, sleep was a luxury she couldn't afford. On her makeshift desk sat a worn manila folder. Her entire history. Inside, she opened it, revealing the same documents she's read 1,000 times. Birth certificate. Baby girl Bennett. Ward of the state. Date found. June 15th, 2002. Location. Roosevelt Medical Center, New York. A single photograph of the necklace was attached, with a handwritten note. This was pinned to your blanket when they found you. I kept it safe. Mrs. Miller, Judith Miller, her foster mother from age 12 to 16, the only person who ever felt like family, had been dead for 7 years now, from cancer. Amara traced the compass rose with her finger. 4 directional points, north, south, east, west, and beneath them, engraved in tiny script. May 29th, 2002, 2 weeks before she was found abandoned. Her roommate, Tessa Rodriguez, appeared in the doorway. Fellow nursing student, best friend, the sister she chose. You're doing it again. Tessa's voice was gentle. The necklace thing. It means something, Tess. Amara didn't look up. This engraving, it's custom work. Expensive. Someone cared enough to have this made. Maybe your birth mom was rich and had a breakdown. Or maybe she was running. Amara closed the folder. Either way, I need to focus. Finals won't pass themselves. But the necklace stayed around her neck. It always did. For 21 years, she's never taken it off. Not once. 2 days earlier. Prestige Events Catering. A cramped office that smelled like coffee and stress. Greg Polson, Amara's supervisor, waved her in. He was in his mid-50 seconds, perpetually exhausted. 3 ex-wives, but decent enough. Big event tomorrow night. He slid a file across his desk. Hartford Museum Spring Gala. Eleanor Whitmore is making some massive announcement. $500 million to children's charities. Amara knew the name. Everyone did. Eleanor Whitmore, banking dynasty, widow of Charles Whitmore, with foundation work that's reshaped child welfare across 3 states. Childless, notoriously private, ruthlessly generous. We need reliable people. Greg tapped the file. It's double pay. And tips from these folks. He whistled. Could be a month's rent in one night. Amara calculated. Double pay would cover next semester's books, and maybe even catch her up on electricity. I'm in. Professional attire only. Greg's expression turned serious. No jewelry except simple studs. These people notice everything. They judge everything. Amara's hand moved to her necklace. No exceptions. Greg cut her off. I'm serious, Amara. One complaint and we lose the contract. She nodded, but her fingers stayed wrapped around the silver crescent. She's never taken it off. Not for gym class, not for hospital clinicals, not for anyone. Tomorrow wouldn't be different. Same time, across Manhattan, the Whitmore estate. 15,000 square feet of history and grief. Eleanor Whitmore sat in her private study. Lawyers and financial advisors crowded the room. Tomorrow's announcement, $500 million, was her life's work. but her attention kept drifting. Above the fireplace hung a portrait of a young woman with auburn hair and laughing eyes. Around her neck, a silver crescent moon necklace. Victoria Whitmore, 1980 to 2002. Her daughter, dead for 23 years. Patrick Hayes, Eleanor's assistant, noticed her distraction. At 37, he was sharp, loyal, and had been with her for a decade. Mrs. Whitmore? The speech revisions. Eleanor blinked. Victoria would be 45 now. Her voice was soft, distant. She would have loved this work, helping children. Patrick's expression softened. She'd be proud of you. Would she? Eleanor touched the compass rose brooch pinned to her lapel, which matched the necklace in the portrait. I couldn't save her. I couldn't even save her baby. The room went quiet. Everyone knew the story. The tragedy that broke Eleanor Whitmore. Victoria, 7 months pregnant. In a car accident. Brain dead by morning. The baby didn't survive the emergency surgery. Eleanor buried them both, mother and child, in June 2002. The necklace disappeared that night from Victoria's personal effects at Roosevelt Medical Center. Gone, despite private investigators. Gone, despite a $50,000 reward. Gone, like her daughter, like her grandchild. Gone. Patrick cleared his throat. The gala tomorrow, it's about moving forward. Is it? Eleanor looked at the portrait, at the necklace frozen in oil paint. Or is it about pretending the past doesn't haunt us? She had commissioned that necklace in Florence in May 2001, a mother-daughter trip. 2 matching pieces, 1 necklace for Victoria, 1 brooch for herself, both engraved with the date they'd returned to collect them, May 29th, 2002. They never made that trip. Victoria died on June 12th, 2002, 2 weeks after the engraving date. The necklace was around her neck when the paramedics brought her in. By morning, it was gone. Eleanor had spent 23 years wondering who took it and why. Was it a simple theft or something darker? Tomorrow night, she'll stand before New York's elite and talk about hope, about giving children a future. She'll smile. She'll inspire. She'll pretend her heart isn't a graveyard, because that's what you do when you're Eleanor Whitmore. You survive. 2 women, 2 lives, 1 lost object. Tomorrow night, fate will force them into the same room, and nothing will ever be the same. The gala. Moments after the champagne glass shattered, security moved fast. 2 men in black suits appeared beside Eleanor. Patrick rushed through the crowd, but Eleanor didn't move. Couldn't move. Her eyes stayed locked on Amara on the necklace. The ballroom fell silent. 500 of New York's wealthiest holding their breath, watching a billionaire stare at a server. Eleanor's voice broke the silence. Barely a whisper, but it carried. Where did you get that necklace? Amara's heart hammered. Every eye was on her, judging, assuming. She's been in this position before. Always an outsider, always suspected. It's mine. Her voice was steadier than she felt. I've had it since I was a baby. That's impossible. Eleanor took a step forward. Her hands trembled. I had that necklace made. Custom. In Florence. There's only one. The crowd murmured louder now. Accusations floating in the air. Stolen. Must be stolen. A woman stepped forward. Mid-40 seconds. Perfectly tailored dress. A smile that didn't reach her eyes. Carolyn Whitmore. Eleanor's daughter-in-law by marriage to her late nephew. Mother Eleanor. Carolyn's voice dripped with concern. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. Her tone said there wasn't. But Eleanor ignored her, moving closer to Amara. Her eyes were desperate, hungry, seeing something no one else could see. May I? Eleanor's hand reached out, stopping inches from the necklace. Please. Amara wanted to run, to disappear like she's learned to do her whole life. But something in Eleanor's eyes stopped her. Not anger, not accusation. Grief. Raw. Devastating. Ancient. Amara nodded. Eleanor's fingers touched the silver, traced the compass rose, and found the engraving on the back. Her breath hitched. The 29th of May, 2002. Eleanor's knees buckled. Patrick caught her. It's real, she whispered. Victoria's necklace. 20 minutes later, they were in a private room off the main hall. Amara sat across from Eleanor. Patrick stood nearby. 2 others had joined them. Detective Raymond Costa, 62, NYPD, semi-retired but on the Whitmore family retainer, and Dr. Miriam Okafor, a family reunification specialist and lawyer with sharp eyes that missed nothing. I'm not pressing charges, Eleanor spoke first, direct. I need to understand how you have that necklace. Amara's hands gripped her knees. I was abandoned. An infant, outside Roosevelt Medical Center, on June 15th, 2002. The necklace was pinned to my blanket. That's everything I know. The room temperature dropped. Eleanor's face transformed, color draining, hands shaking harder. June 15th? Roosevelt Medical? According to my intake papers, yes. Patrick and Detective Costa exchanged looks. Costa spoke carefully. Mrs. Whitmore's daughter Victoria died on June 12th, 2002, at Roosevelt Medical Center. A brain aneurysm following a car accident. The words hung in the air. Impossible, terrible, true. Dr. Okafor leaned forward. Miss Bennett, do you have medical records? Birth documentation? Just what the state gave me. Amara pulled papers from her purse. She always carried them. Her entire identity in a folder. A generic birth certificate. No parent names, no history. Eleanor's hands shook as she removed her compass rose brooch and placed it on the table beside Amara's necklace. They were unmistakably matched. Same metalwork, same patina, same tiny maker's mark underneath. A.F. Firenze, Alessandro Ferretti, Florence. The jeweler Eleanor commissioned in 2001. Victoria was 7 months pregnant when she died. Eleanor's voice fractured, then broke. The doctors told me the baby didn't survive. An emergency C-section. Too much trauma. They showed me. They said it was over. Silence crashed through the room. Detective Costa cleared his throat. Mrs. Whitmore, if you're suggesting— I'm not suggesting. Eleanor's business voice surfaced, sharp, commanding. I'm stating facts. My daughter died at that hospital. 3 days later, a black infant was found abandoned at that same hospital wearing my daughter's necklace. I want to know what happened. Amara's world tilted, spun. Are you saying I might be? I'm saying we need DNA tests. Eleanor's eyes met hers. Immediately. 4 hours later, they were at a 24-hour medical lab in Manhattan. Cheek swabs, labels, chain of custody forms. The expedited processing cost more than Amara made in a month. Eleanor paid without blinking. While they waited, Detective Costa opened his laptop, accessing 23 years of digital archives from Roosevelt Medical Center. June 12th, 2002, Costa read aloud. Victoria Whitmore, admitted 11:47 p.m. Motor vehicle accident, severe head trauma, passenger side T-bone collision at intersection of skip to the delivery. Eleanor's voice was tight, controlled. Emergency C-section performed at 1:23 a.m. due to fetal distress. Costa's frown deepened. Official record states infant female delivered stillborn at 1:51 a.m. Mother expired at 2:04 a.m. from cerebral hemorrhage. Eleanor closed her eyes, reliving the worst night of her life. Costa continued. June 15th, 2002. Infant female found by maintenance worker Lewis Washington, 6:20 a.m., near the ER entrance. Estimated age, 3 to 4 days. The preliminary exam showed good health, no distress. The baby had one distinguishing mark. He paused. A small strawberry birthmark, left shoulder blade. Amara's breath stopped. Eleanor noticed. What is it? Amara's voice was barely audible. I have a birthmark. Left shoulder blade. Strawberry-shaped. The room froze. Show me. Eleanor stood. Amara hesitated. This was insane. This couldn't be real. But she turned, lowering her collar enough to reveal the mark, small, reddish, shaped like an irregular heart. Eleanor's sob tore through the quiet. Victoria had the same mark, in exactly the same location. Her father had it. Charles's mother documented it in all the family medical records, worried it was vascular. Patrick's face went pale. If the baby survived, why would they report her stillborn? Dr. Okafor's voice was grim, professional. Either catastrophic medical error or someone deliberately falsified the records. Detective Costa finished. Eleanor stood, her grief transformed into something harder, colder, more dangerous. Find out who delivered that baby. Find out who signed the death certificate. Find out who was in that delivery room. Her voice could cut glass. And find out why my granddaughter was abandoned like garbage while I buried an empty coffin. The next morning, the DNA results arrived via secure email. Dr. Okafor opened the attachment. Her hands were steady, professional, but her eyes betrayed emotion. She read aloud, each word landing like a hammer. Probability of biological relationship between Eleanor Whitmore and Amara Bennett. She paused. 99.97%. The room erupted. Carolyn Whitmore, who had inserted herself into this meeting, went pale. That's impossible. I was there. I saw Eleanor at the funeral. You saw a funeral for my daughter. Eleanor's voice was still. No one showed me the baby. They said it would be too traumatic. Amara couldn't breathe, couldn't think. 23 years of foster homes, poverty, loneliness, and questions no one could answer, all because of a lie. Why? Her voice broke. Why would someone do this? Patrick's expression darkened. Maybe we should ask who benefited from Victoria's death. All eyes turned to Carolyn. Her face flushed. How dare you? I wasn't even married to Thomas in 2002, but you were dating him. Patrick's voice was quiet, deadly. You were at the hospital that night. The temperature dropped. Detective Costa opened a new file. Let's talk about the delivery room. Who was there? Who had access? Who signed what? These are the kind of stories that remind us that sometimes the most touching stories are buried under decades of lies, and someone was willing to destroy a life to keep those lies hidden. Who falsified the hospital records? Why was Amara abandoned? And what did Carolyn know? 72 hours after the DNA results, Eleanor's estate attorney, Margaret Shen, arrived with boxes. 23 years of financial records, estate documents, trust amendments, the paper trail of a fortune. She spread them across Eleanor's conference table. Detective Costa, Patrick, Dr. Okafor, Amara, Eleanor, and Carolyn were all present. Carolyn had brought her own lawyer, Harrison Breenage, silver hair, expensive suit, a retainer that could fund a hospital wing. Margaret spoke like she was presenting evidence, because she was. When Victoria died in 2002, her estate was structured with a clear hierarchy. She pointed to a document. If her child survived, the child inherited Victoria's share, approximately $1.8 billion in today's valuation. Amara's stomach dropped. Billion with a B. With no surviving heir, Victoria's share reverted to the 1,998 Trust Amendment. Margaret slid another page forward. The secondary beneficiary was Thomas Whitmore, Eleanor's nephew. Carolyn's face hardened. Thomas is dead. Pancreatic cancer, 2019. What does this have to do with anything? Patrick cut her off. Thomas managed Whitmore Industries from 2002 until his death. You've managed it since, and the foundation. Detective Costa pulled up financial records on his laptop. Let's talk about money. In June 2002, Dr. Philip Grayson, the administrator of Roosevelt Medical Center, received a $250,000 consulting fee. He turned the screen, showing the wire transfer from Whitmore Industries' legal department, approved by Thomas Whitmore. The room went silent. Eleanor's voice was ice. Thomas authorized $250,000 to the hospital administrator the same month my daughter died? It gets better. Costa clicked to another screen. In June 2003, Grayson received $500,000 from a shell corporation, Clearwater Medical Consulting. It was dissolved in 2004, the registered agent. He looked at Carolyn. Simon Vance, your first cousin. Carolyn stood. I'm calling my attorney. Sit down. Eleanor's command stopped her cold. You're not leaving until we understand what happened. Carolyn sat, but her lawyer leaned in, whispering urgently. Detective Costa continued. Hospital staff present at Victoria's delivery. Primary surgeon, Dr. Alan Mercer, retired, living in Arizona. Surgical nurse, Linda Hartwell, retired, Vermont. Anesthesiologist, Dr. Paul Rickman, deceased, 2007. He paused on the next name. Attending physician who signed the stillbirth certificate, Dr. Gerald Thornton. A photo appeared. A man in his 42nds, white coat, confident smile. Thornton was terminated in 2003 for falsifying patient records in an unrelated case. He lost his medical license in 2005. Last known address, Jacksonville, Florida. Patrick leaned forward. Someone paid him. That's speculation, Breenage, Carolyn's lawyer objected. You have no evidence. Then explain the money. Eleanor's voice cut like a blade. Explain why my nephew paid the hospital administrator. Explain why Carolyn's cousin's company paid him more. Carolyn's composure cracked. Thomas handled legal affairs. I don't know every transaction. You were there. Amara's voice surprised everyone, including herself. The night my mother died, you were there. I was Thomas's girlfriend. Of course I was there. And 3 days later, I was abandoned. Amara stood facing Carolyn. This necklace is worth thousands. Why didn't whoever left me just sell it? Why keep it with me? Silence. Dr. Okafor spoke quietly. Because it was insurance. If the baby was ever found, the necklace was proof. Proof that someone wanted the baby gone but couldn't bring themselves to. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. That afternoon, Detective Costa made calls. Linda Hartwell, the surgical nurse, now 71, agreed to a video call. Her face appeared on screen, weathered, tired, guilty. I wondered when someone would come asking. Her voice shook. For 23 years I've had nightmares. Every single one. Eleanor leaned toward the screen. Tell us what happened. Linda took a breath. The baby didn't die. She was perfect. Crying, pink, healthy. 7 pounds, 2 ounces. Amara's hand covered her mouth. But Dr. Thornton, he took her out of the delivery room. He told us to document stillbirth. I tried to object. He said it was complicated. A family request. Family request. Eleanor's voice was sharp. That's what he said. I thought maybe. I don't know what I thought. But I was young, scared. He was the attending physician. Costa spoke gently. What happened next? 3 days later, I was leaving my shift. I saw Dr. Thornton in the parking garage, level B. He was with someone, a woman. Dark hair, red coat. They were arguing. Patrick stiffened. Did you see her face? No, but I saw him hand her something wrapped in a hospital blanket. I didn't realize until years later what I had witnessed. Why didn't you report it? Dr. Okafor asked. Linda's face crumpled. I tried. I went to Dr. Grayson, the administrator. He told me I was mistaken, traumatized from the delivery. Then I started getting letters. What kind of letters? No return address. Typed. They said my family would be hurt if I talked, said my daughter. She was 8 then. They knew her school. They sent me pictures of her on the playground. Eleanor closed her eyes. So I kept quiet. I got a transfer to a different hospital. I tried to forget. Linda wiped away tears. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Amara couldn't speak, couldn't process. They threw her away. They threatened a woman into silence. All for money. Detective Costa paused the recording. Linda, the woman you saw, the red coat. Can you describe anything else? Expensive. Designer. Burberry, maybe. And she was tall, confident, moved like someone used to giving orders. Patrick's face went white. Carolyn had a red Burberry coat in 2002. I remember because Thomas bought it for her for Christmas in 2001. All eyes turned to Carolyn. She was pale, shaking. Thousands of women own red coats. This is absurd. You're building a conspiracy from, then take a polygraph. Eleanor's voice was cold, merciless. If you have nothing to hide, I don't have to prove my innocence. Actually, Breenage said quietly, given the evidence, you might want to cooperate. Even her own lawyer saw it. That night, in Eleanor's study, Amara sat by the window, looking at the city lights. She tried to process that she was a billionaire's granddaughter, that her entire life was a lie, that people had destroyed her for money. Eleanor entered with tea and sat beside her. I don't know how to be a family. Amara's voice was small. I don't know how to be your granddaughter. I don't know how to be a grandmother. Eleanor's honesty was gentle. But we'll learn. Together. They threw me away. Amara's voice broke. Like I was garbage. No. Eleanor took her hand. They stole you. They're not the same thing. You were wanted desperately. I just didn't know you existed. Amara looked at her. This woman who was a stranger, who was her grandmother, who had lost 23 years. What if we can't prove it? What if they get away with it? Eleanor's eyes hardened. They won't. I promise you that. A knock on the door. Patrick entered, his face grim. Detective Costa found Dr. Thornton in Florida. He's willing to talk. Eleanor stood. Then we go to Florida. There's something else. Patrick hesitated. A private security contractor, Keith Mallory. He's been asking questions about Amara, following her. Who hired him? Whitmore Industries Security Division. The approval code traces to Carolyn. These real-life stories teach us that when the powerful feel threatened, they don't just hide the truth, they hunt it. And Amara had just become the target. Jacksonville, Florida. 2 days later, Detective Costa and Patrick stood outside a rundown apartment complex with peeling paint, broken railings, and the smell of desperation. Dr. Gerald Thornton lived here now. 3rd floor, Unit 312. Costa knocked once, twice. Footsteps shuffled inside. The door opened to reveal a man who looked 80 but was only 67. Hollow eyes, shaking hands. The ghost of the confident doctor from the photo, Dr. Thornton. Costa showed his badge. Thornton's face drained. I knew someone would come eventually. He didn't ask why they were there. He already knew. Inside the apartment, Thornton sat on a stained couch, hands wrapped around a coffee mug. He couldn't stop shaking. "I can't talk about that night. They'll kill me." "Who will kill you?" Patrick asked. "I don't know. That's the point." Thornton's voice cracked. "I've been running for 20 years, changing addresses, using cash. They still find me." Costa leaned forward. "Tell us what happened." June 12th, 2002. Thornton closed his eyes. "I was paid $100,000 in cash, delivered to a P.O. box in 3 installments. Paid to do what? Falsify the stillbirth certificate. Take the baby to a specific location. Leave her there." The words landed like stones. "Where?" Patrick's voice was tight. "A maintenance closet. Near the loading dock, level B. I was told someone would pick her up, take her to a good family. A private adoption. No paperwork." "You believed that?" Thornton's laugh was bitter. "I wanted to believe it. $100,000 pays a lot of gambling debts. So, I documented the stillbirth, took the baby, and left her in that closet, wrapped in a hospital blanket with the necklace. It was around the mother's neck when she died. I thought, I don't know, maybe the baby should have something from her." Costa's jaw tightened. "What happened next?" "I left. I came back an hour later to check. The baby was gone. I thought everything went according to plan." Thornton's voice dropped. "But 3 days later, I saw the news. Abandoned baby found at Roosevelt Medical. I realized whoever was supposed to pick her up didn't. They just moved her to the ER entrance and left her." Patrick stood, pacing. "Who contacted you? Who set this up?" "I never met them directly. Everything was phone calls, burner phones, instructions delivered by text, money and cash drops. You must have heard something. A name, a voice." Thornton hesitated. There was one voicemail, left by mistake. A woman's voice. She said, "Tell Grayson it's done." Then she hung up, realized her error, and called back immediately to say, "Forget that message." "Can you describe the voice?" "Educated, cold, used to giving orders." He paused, and she had a slight accent. "Not strong, but there. European, maybe, or someone who'd lived abroad." Costa and Patrick exchanged looks. "After that night, the threats started," Thornton continued. "Letters, photos of my daughter at school, her route home. I moved to Florida, changed my name on lease documents, stopped practicing medicine, but they still found me." He pulled up his shirt, showing a long scar across his ribs. 2 years ago, a man with a knife in a parking lot outside a grocery store said if I ever talked, the next time would be fatal. Back in New York, at Eleanor's estate, Amara couldn't sleep. It was 3 a.m. She was in the guest house. Eleanor insisted she stay in, with 24-hour security outside. Her phone buzzed. A text from Tessa. "You okay? Saw the news. This is insane." The media had found out. Of course they did. Nothing stays secret in New York. Headlines were everywhere. "Whitmore hire found after 23 years. Baby Amara. Stolen or abandoned. Billionaire's lost granddaughter raised in foster care." Amara didn't respond. She couldn't find the words. Another text came through, from an unknown number. "Stop asking questions. You survived once. Don't test your luck." Her blood went cold. She screenshotted it and forwarded it to Detective Costa, but fear settled in her chest like ice. Someone was watching. The next morning, the team gathered in Eleanor's conference room. Eleanor, Amara, Patrick, Detective Costa, Margaret Shen, and Dr. Okafor. Costa shared Thornton's testimony. The room listened in grim silence. "The voicemail," Margaret spoke. "A woman's voice, European accent. That's specific." Patrick pulled up files. Carolyn Whitmore, born Carolyn DuPont. Her father was French-American, her mother was Swiss. Carolyn spent summers in Geneva as a child. She has a slight accent when she's tired or angry. Eleanor's face hardened. "Circumstantial. We need more." "I'm working on it." Costa opened his laptop. "Dr. Philip Grayson, the hospital administrator. Current address, Miami. I have a warrant being processed." "How long?" 48 hours. "Too long." Eleanor stood. "I want answers now." Patrick hesitated. "There's something else. I've been digging into Thomas's finances from 2002. He made several large cash withdrawals from May through June, a total of $850,000. $100,000 to Thornton, $250,000 to Grayson," Margaret calculated. "That leaves $500,000 unaccounted for or already paid to someone else." Dr. Okafor asked the question that hung in the air. "Who?" That afternoon, Amara returned to her Bronx apartment. She needed clothes, textbooks, her life before everything exploded. Security offered to accompany her. She refused. She needed space, normalcy, a mistake. She climbed the stairs to her third-floor walk-up. The light was out again. The landlord never fixed anything. Her key turned in the lock. The door opened. The apartment was dark. She reached for the light switch. A hand grabbed her from behind and slammed her against the wall. A man's voice, low and cold. "You need to stop asking questions." Amara's nursing training kicked in. She identified pressure points, weak spots. Her elbow drove back, connecting with his ribs. He grunted, his grip loosening. She spun and saw his face. Mid-40 seconds, a scar across his left eyebrow, dead eyes. He pulled a knife. They said to make it look like a robbery. Amara's heart hammered. She was 3 feet from her door, 10 feet from the stairs. He lunged. She dropped and rolled. His knife hit the wall where she had been. She ran, scrambling down the stairs. He was behind her, his heavy footsteps getting closer. Second floor, first floor, lobby. She burst onto the street, screaming. People turned. The attacker stopped at the door, saw the witnesses, and vanished back inside. Amara collapsed on the sidewalk, shaking. A woman called 911. 2 hours later, at the police station, Detective Costa reviewed the security footage. The camera caught the attacker entering Amara's building. Facial recognition ran. Keith Mallory. Costa pulled up a file. A private security contractor who worked for corporate intimidation firms. Specialty: making problems disappear. "Who hired him?" Eleanor demanded. She had arrived within minutes of hearing about the attack. "Whitmore Industry Security Division. Payment authorized 3 days ago." Patrick pulled up the approval code. His face went pale. Carolyn's digital signature. Eleanor's rage was quiet, controlled, deadly. "Arrest her. Now." "We're working on it," Costa said. "But Mallory has disappeared. Without him, it's harder to prove." His phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face changed. Keith Mallory was found dead in his apartment an hour ago. Single gunshot. Apparent suicide. The room went silent. "That's not suicide," Patrick said what everyone was thinking. "That's tying up loose ends." Amara sat in the corner, processing. Someone tried to kill her, then killed the killer to cover the tracks. Eleanor sat beside her and took her hand. "You're staying at the estate. No arguments." Amara didn't argue. She couldn't. That night, Detective Costa's phone rang. An unknown number. Detective Costa. A man's voice, old and weak. "My name is Father Michael Reyes. I'm a priest in hospice care at Mount Sinai. I've been following the Whitmore case in the news." "How can I help you, Father?" "It's what I can help you with." The priest coughed. "I'm dying. Heart failure. Weeks left. Maybe days. I need to speak with Mrs. Whitmore. It's about Thomas, her nephew." Costa sat up straight. "What about Thomas?" "He came to confession in 2019, days before he died. He was tormented, couldn't find peace. Father, the seal of confession. Thomas asked me to break it if the truth ever came out. He gave me written permission, signed and notarized. The priest's breathing labored. He told me what he did, all of it, but he wasn't the one who planned it." Costa's pulse quickened. "Who planned it?" "Someone Victoria trusted. Someone she loved like a sister." The priest paused. "He gave me a name, Dr. Naomi Carter." The world stopped. Victoria's best friend. Costa could barely speak. Thomas said she came to him in May 2002, told him the baby would ruin both their lives, told him they could make it disappear. She had connections at the hospital. She had a plan. Costa stood, pacing. Why would Naomi Carter want Victoria's baby gone? Money, debts, desperation. Father Reyes coughed again, harder. Thomas said Naomi was the one who arranged everything, paid everyone, threatened everyone. He just provided the money and looked the other way. Sometimes the touching stories we hear about friendship hide the darkest betrayals, because the people closest to us know exactly how to destroy us. The name dropped like a bomb. Dr. Naomi Carter, Victoria's best friend, maid of honor at her wedding. The woman who held Eleanor's hand at the funeral. Detective Costa pulled up files. Within minutes, her life spread across his screen. Naomi Carter, now 46, a psychiatrist with a private practice on Manhattan's Upper East Side. Successful, wealthy, respected. But 2002 told a different story. Columbia University roommates, Victoria and Naomi, from 1998 to 2002, inseparable. Every photo showed them laughing, arms linked, sisters by choice, until money destroyed everything. Costa dug deeper. In January 2001, Naomi married Marcus Carter, a hedge fund manager worth $40 million. By March 2001, Marcus had filed for divorce. The cause: infidelity his. His new girlfriend was Patricia Lowe, 26, a former assistant. The divorce was brutal. Marcus's lawyers argued Naomi contributed nothing to his wealth. A prenuptial agreement gave her a minimal settlement of $200,000. That was it. Naomi fought back. Victoria testified as a character witness, speaking about Naomi's support during Marcus's business ventures, her sacrifices. It didn't matter. The judge sided with Marcus. In January 2002, the divorce was finalized. Naomi got $200,000 and crushing legal debt. But here's where it got interesting. In April 2002, 2 months before Victoria died, Victoria co-signed a loan for Naomi for $2 million, using Whitmore Foundation funds as collateral. Eleanor never knew. She forged my signature. Eleanor's voice shook with rage. That loan was never authorized, Margaret Shen confirmed. If Victoria died and her heir was eliminated, the loan would be written off as an estate loss. Naomi keeps the money. No one asks questions. Patrick pulled up more records. On June 26, 2002, Marcus Carter died. A boating accident in the Hamptons. The investigation ruled it accidental. He was drinking, fell overboard, and drowned. 2 weeks after Victoria died, Dr. Okafor noted, Patricia Lowe contested the will. Marcus had promised to change it, but without proof, and with Naomi as the previous beneficiary, the courts awarded Naomi the full estate through a legal loophole. Costa did the math. $45 million from Marcus, $2 million from Victoria, all within 1 month. And all she needed was for Victoria and the baby to disappear. Amara's voice was hollow. The pieces fit. Perfect. Terrible. True. Detective Costa made a call. Dr. Naomi Carter? This is Detective Raymond Costa, NYPD. I'd like to ask you some questions about Victoria Whitmore. Silence on the line. Then, I heard about Amara. It's wonderful. Eleanor must be overjoyed. Her voice was smooth, practiced, but there was something underneath. Fear. Would you be willing to come to the station? Clear up some timeline questions? Of course, though I'm not sure how I can help. That was 23 years ago. You remember it well enough. Another pause. Victoria was my best friend. You don't forget losing someone like that. No, Costa's voice hardened. You don't. They arranged a meeting for the next day at 2 p.m. Naomi agreed too easily, like she's been expecting this. That night, Eleanor couldn't sleep. She sat in her study, looking at photos of Victoria and Naomi. Birthday parties, graduations, holidays. In every photo, Naomi was smiling. Perfect teeth, perfect hair, a perfect mask. How did Eleanor miss it? The envy, the resentment, the rage hiding behind friendship. Patrick entered quietly. You couldn't have known. I should have. I'm supposed to protect my family. She fooled everyone, even Victoria. Eleanor touched a photo. Victoria laughed, Naomi beside her, arms around each other. She murdered my daughter, stole my grandchild, and I invited her to the funeral. Patrick had no response. Some betrayals are too deep for words. The next day, 2 p.m., at the police station. Dr. Naomi Carter arrived 15 minutes early. Designer suit, Hermes bag, lawyer in tow. Douglas Wainwright. Expensive, ruthless. She saw Eleanor in the conference room. Her mask slipped for half a second, then reconstructed. Eleanor. It's been too long. She moved to embrace her. Eleanor stepped back. Don't. Naomi's smile faltered. She sat, Wainwright beside her. Detective Costa, Patrick, Dr. Okafor, and Margaret Shen filled the room. Recording equipment was running. Dr. Carter, thank you for coming, Costa began. We're investigating the events surrounding Victoria Whitmore's death, specifically the disappearance of her baby. I thought the baby died. Naomi's voice was careful. The baby is alive, sitting right there. Costa gestured to Amara. Naomi looked, really looked. Her face didn't change, but her hands gripped her bag tighter. How wonderful. You must be thrilled, Eleanor. Eleanor said nothing, just stared, dissecting her. Costa continued. We have testimony placing you at Roosevelt Medical Center the night Victoria died. Of course I was there. Victoria was my best friend. We have financial records showing Victoria co-signed a $2 million loan for you in April 2002. Naomi didn't blink. Victoria was generous. She helped me through a difficult divorce. We have phone records. Costa slid papers across the table. 17 calls between you and Dr. Philip Grayson in the week before Victoria died. Why were you calling the hospital administrator? I don't recall. That was 23 years ago. We have testimony from Dr. Gerald Thornton. He says a woman with a European accent gave instructions to falsify the stillbirth certificate. Naomi's lawyer leaned in. My client doesn't have to respond to hearsay. We have a voicemail. Costa played it. The audio was old, scratchy, but clear enough. A woman's voice. Tell Grayson it's done. Naomi's face remained neutral, but a vein pulsed in her neck. That could be anyone. We have witness testimony, Costa pressed. Linda Hartwell, the surgical nurse. She saw Dr. Thornton hand a blanket-wrapped bundle to a woman in a red coat in the parking garage, level B, on June 15, 2002. Thousands of women own red coats. We have testimony from Thomas Whitmore, given to Father Michael Reyes on his deathbed. Costa played the recording. Father Reyes's voice, weak but clear. Thomas confessed everything. He said Naomi Carter came to him in May 2002, told him Victoria's baby would ruin both their lives. She had a plan, contacts at the hospital. All Thomas had to do was provide the money and stay quiet. The room went silent. Naomi's mask cracked, just slightly. Thomas was dying, delirious. This is inadmissible. Actually, Margaret Shen said, Thomas signed a notarized statement giving Father Reyes permission to break the seal of confession if the truth emerged. It's admissible. Wainwright whispered urgently to Naomi. She shook her head. Costa leaned forward. Your ex-husband, Marcus, died 2 weeks after Victoria, a boating accident. We reopened that investigation. We found a witness, a boat mechanic, Carl Jennings. He was paid $50,000 to tamper with the safety equipment. He slid a photo across the table. Jennings, signing a sworn statement. He identified you as the woman who hired him. Naomi's breathing quickened. This is a setup. You're trying to frame me because you need someone to blame. We have bank records, Patrick spoke now. 3 cash withdrawals from your account in May 2002, totaling $150,000 the same week Thornton and Grayson were paid. Circumstantial. We have a motive, Eleanor finally spoke, her voice like ice. You were drowning in debt. Victoria had everything you wanted, and her baby stood between you and $45 million. Naomi's eyes flashed with rage, pure and unfiltered. You have nothing. Speculation and coincidence. We have enough to arrest you. Detective Costa stood. Dr. Naomi Carter, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit kidnapping, fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder. Wainwright shot to his feet. This is outrageous. You'll be hearing from... But something broke in Naomi. 23 years of pretending, of hiding, of fear. It shattered. She stood, pushing Wainwright aside. You want the truth? Her voice rose. Fine. Yes, I did it, all of it. Wainwright grabbed her arm. Naomi, stop talking. She shook him off, her composure exploding. Victoria had everything. Money, family, love. And she was going to waste it playing Mother Teresa. That baby would have inherited billions while I had nothing. Eleanor stood, her hands shaking with rage. So, yes, Naomi was screaming now. I convinced Thomas to help me. Yes, I paid Grayson and Thornton. Yes, I told them to abandon the baby because I couldn't risk her growing up and asking questions. Amara couldn't breathe, couldn't process. And yes, I had Marcus killed. He owed me that money after what he did, after he humiliated me, after he threw me away for some 6-year-old. Wainwright looked like he wanted to disappear. You want to know the worst part? Naomi laughed, a bitter, broken sound. I'm not sorry. Victoria was naive. Thomas was weak. They both deserved what happened. She looked at Amara, her eyes cold. You survived. You're fine. You're about to inherit billions. So what's the problem? The room was silent, stunned. Eleanor stepped forward, her voice quiet, devastating. The problem, Naomi, is that you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, knowing all your scheming achieved nothing but your own destruction. Security entered, handcuffing Naomi. As they led her away, she was still screaming. Victoria didn't deserve that fortune. She was going to waste it. I was smarter. I deserved it. The door closed. Silence crashed down. Amara realized she was crying. Eleanor's arm wrapped around her. These are the stories that remind us that evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears the face of a friend. 3 days later, at the Manhattan Criminal Courthouse, the media circus was deafening. Cameras flashed. Protesters held signs. Justice for Amara. How many others were stolen? Eleanor and Amara arrived, surrounded by security. Inside, the courtroom was packed, standing room only. Dr. Naomi Carter sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit. No makeup. The mask was completely gone. Douglas Wainwright sat beside her, looking like he'd aged 10 years. Carolyn Whitmore sat separately with her own legal team, facing accessory and conspiracy charges. Judge Ramona Torres entered. 64, with 2 decades on the bench and 0 tolerance for games. All rise. Assistant District Attorney James Wu stood. Your Honor, the people will demonstrate that Dr. Naomi Carter orchestrated a conspiracy spanning 23 years, involving kidnapping, fraud, and murder. He laid out the case, the DNA evidence, financial records, and testimony. Linda Hartwell took the stand first. At 71, she was nervous but determined. The baby didn't die. She was healthy, crying, perfect. Wu guided her. What happened next? Dr. Thornton took her, told us to document stillbirth, said it was a family request. What did you witness 3 days later? I saw Dr. Thornton in the parking garage with a woman. Dark hair, red coat, expensive. He handed her something wrapped in a blanket. Wu showed a photo of Naomi Carter from 2002. Could this be the woman? The build matches. The height. The confidence. Wainwright's cross-examination tried to poke holes. Linda didn't budge. Dr. Gerald Thornton testified next, granted immunity. He looked broken. I falsified the stillbirth certificate. I was paid $100,000. Instructions came through burner phones, cash drops. Did you ever hear a name? Once. A voicemail. A woman said, "Tell Grayson it's done." Described the voice. Educated. Cold. A slight European accent. Wu played the recording, then submitted a voice analysis. A 92% match to Dr. Carter's voice. The courtroom murmured. Carl Jennings, the boat mechanic, testified. A guilty conscience. She paid me $50,000 to tamper with Marcus Carter's boat, the safety equipment. To make it look accidental, who paid you? Dr. Naomi Carter. I met her at a marina. She told me exactly what to do. Wu showed surveillance footage of Jennings meeting Naomi in May 2002. It was her, no question. Father Michael Reyes appeared via video link from hospice, an oxygen tube in his nose. He had weeks left. Thomas Whitmore confessed in June 2019, days before he died. What did he confess about the baby? How Naomi Carter convinced him it was necessary, that the baby would destroy their inheritances. Who orchestrated it? Naomi. All of it. She had hospital connections, arranged the payments. Thomas just provided the money. Wainwright objected. Woo! Submitted Thomas's notarized permission. Judge Torres allowed it. Finally, Amara took the stand. The courtroom went silent. Wu approached gently. Miss Bennett, tell the court about your childhood. 7 foster homes before I aged out at 18. Some were good, most weren't. Did you have family support? I had no one. No records, no history. Just a necklace and questions. How did you survive? 2 jobs in high school, 3 in college, scholarships and loans. I worked every day to become a nurse. What did you think about your biological family? Amara's voice cracked. I thought they didn't want me. I thought I wasn't worth keeping. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. Now you know the truth. Now I know I was wanted, but someone decided my life was worth less than money. She looked at Naomi. You stole 23 years from my grandmother. You condemned me to poverty. You killed people for money. Naomi stared back, showing no remorse. Wainwright's cross-examination. You stand to inherit billions. I don't care about the money. I care about my grandmother, the life we lost, the mother I never knew. Amara leaned forward. Money doesn't fix that. Whispers rippled through the courtroom. As Wu rested his case, Naomi snapped. She stood, pushing Wainwright away. You all act so righteous, but you do the same. Victoria was going to waste billions on charity, on strangers. Judge Torres banged her gavel. Dr. Carter, sit down. No. I worked for everything. Victoria had it handed to her. She didn't deserve it. Sit down, or I'll hold you in contempt. I'm already going to prison. Naomi laughed, a bitter sound. My only mistake was not destroying that necklace. Security moved toward her. Victoria was weak. Thomas was weak. And that baby. She pointed at Amara. Should have stayed lost. Security restrained her, dragging her back as she continued to scream. Judge Torres's face was stone. I've heard enough. She reviewed the evidence, the testimony, the confession. Dr. Naomi Carter, I find probable cause on all charges. How do you plead? Naomi cut off her lawyer. Guilty. To everything. The courtroom exploded. For sentencing, Judge Torres's voice cut through the chaos. Dr. Carter, you destroyed lives, murdered 2 people, stole a child's identity, corrupted professionals, and threatened witnesses. She paused. I sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Sentences to be served consecutively, plus civil liability. Naomi didn't react. Empty. Carolyn Whitmore received 30 years, with parole after 20. Dr. Philip Grayson, 15 years. Dr. Gerald Thornton, 10 years, his license permanently revoked. As they were led away, Eleanor reached for Amara's hand. Justice was served. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Eleanor made a brief statement. My granddaughter was stolen 23 years ago by people I trusted. Today, justice affirmed that cruelty will not go unpunished. We ask for privacy as we heal. Amara spoke quietly. To every foster child wondering if you matter, you do. Your story matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The crowd erupted in support. They walked to the car, hand in hand, grandmother and granddaughter. The past couldn't be changed, but the future was theirs to write. In stories like these, justice doesn't erase the pain, but it proves that truth always finds its way home. 6 months later, Amara walked through the Whitmore estate gardens. The morning sun filtered through oak trees. Birds sang. It was a peace she never knew existed. She lived in the guest house now, a compromise. Eleanor wanted her in the main house, but Amara needed space, independence. They were learning, slowly. Eleanor wanted to give her everything: clothes, cars, vacations, to make up for 23 lost years in 6 months. Amara wanted to earn her own way, to finish what she started, to prove she was more than a lost heiress. They clashed often, but they were trying. Last week was Amara's nursing school graduation. Eleanor sat in the front row, tears streaming down her face as Amara crossed the stage. The degree was earned through her own work, her own sacrifice. Not family connections, not money, her own hands. Afterward, Eleanor hugged her and whispered, Victoria would be so proud. Amara held on tight. I wish I'd known her. You have her strength, her heart, her stubborn determination. Eleanor smiled through her tears. You know her through yourself. They visit Victoria's grave together now, once a month, always on the 12th, the day she died. Eleanor places white roses. Amara places her hand on the headstone. I'm here, Mom, she whispers every time. I'm okay. We're okay. Eleanor doesn't cry anymore, not at the grave. She talks instead, telling Victoria about Amara's achievements, her plans, her life. Like Victoria is still listening. Maybe she is. The Victoria Whitmore Foundation launched with $200 million, the announcement Eleanor had planned to make 6 months ago. Now, it had a real operational focus. Foster children, education, scholarships, mental health services, and family reunification resources. Amara served on the board, using her experience, her pain, to help others. At the first meeting, she presented data, statistics, plans. Every year, 20,000 kids age out of foster care with no family and no support. We're going to change that. The board approved every proposal. Tessa Rodriguez was the first scholarship recipient, a full ride to Columbia's nursing graduate program. She hugged Amara after the announcement. You did this. We did this, Amara corrected. We're not letting anyone else feel forgotten. Systemic changes rippled outward. The Amara Bennett Act passed the New York State Legislature, requiring DNA banking for all abandoned infants and a comprehensive database with family connection protocols. Roosevelt Medical Center restructured completely, with new protocols and multiple verifications for any infant death certificate. Detective Costa now headed a new task force investigating hospital fraud and adoption corruption. They had already identified 12 suspicious cases. Dr. Okafor published a book, Stolen Childhoods: How Medical Corruption Destroys Families, now required reading in medical ethics programs nationwide. Change was happening because of Amara's story. The civil lawsuit settled. $45 million from Naomi's estate, Roosevelt Medical Center, and the co-conspirators. Amara's portion was $30 million. She donated every penny to foster care reform, medical oversight programs, and legal aid for family reunification. I don't need guilt money, she told reporters. I need to make sure this never happens again. Eleanor watched the press conference, pride overwhelming her. 1 year after the gala, Amara worked her first shift as a registered nurse at Roosevelt Medical Center, in the NICU. Eleanor had argued against it. Too many painful memories, too much trauma, Amara insisted. This is where Mom died, where I was stolen. But it's also where sick babies get saved every day. I want to be part of the healing. She tended to a premature infant, monitoring vitals, adjusting IVs, and speaking softly to terrified parents. During her lunch break, Eleanor visited, bringing homemade sandwiches, only slightly burnt. They ate in the cafeteria, surrounded by chaos, beeping machines and rushing staff. It felt normal. Not perfect, not without pain, but real. Amara touched her necklace, now accompanied by a compass rose bracelet Eleanor had given her, inscribed with both their names. You know what's funny? Amara said. What? I spent my whole life feeling lost, like I didn't belong anywhere. She looked at Eleanor. Now I realize I was never lost, just stolen, and you never stopped looking. Eleanor's eyes filled. I didn't know I was looking, but my heart knew something was missing. They sat in silence, comfortable, complete. Amara Bennett was abandoned as an infant, labeled unwanted, and told by society she didn't matter. For 23 years, she fought to survive in a world that had discarded her. But a single necklace, a mother's final gift, became the thread that unraveled a conspiracy, restored a family, and exposed corruption. The villains are behind bars. The system is changing. Justice prevailed. But the real victory? Eleanor finally hearing someone call her grandma. Amara understanding she was never unwanted, she was stolen. The lesson from this story is that our past does not define our future. Amara's life began with abandonment and hardship, yet her resilience, determination, and fight for the truth allowed her to not only reclaim her own story, but to change the system for countless others. It teaches us that truth, no matter how deeply buried, has the power to heal, and that the fight for justice is always worth it. Have you ever wondered what secrets your family holds? What injustices hide behind closed doors? In a world that tells us to move on, to forget, Amara reminds us that truth is worth fighting for, and love always finds its way home. If this story touched your heart, share it. Comment below about your own journey of discovery or overcoming impossible odds, and subscribe to hear more touching stories about real people.